All right, Hebrews 13:5. He says, um, let your conversation be without covetousness, and be content with such things as you have. For it said, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. That's it, we can go home now. We've landed in a section that is not necessarily doctrinal, but it is. There are some truths that transcend all dispensations. These are characteristics of redeemed people. They need to do this. And you'll find these same commands in every dispensation. It's just something you have to work on. Always be working on this. He says, let it be without covetousness. Look at it all the way back in Exodus 20. Exodus 20, you know the 10 Commandments. He says, thou shalt not covet. So we're still holding on to that commandment, aren't we? He says the whole list. Don't covet this and don't covet that and anything that's your neighbor's. And so that's why the man comes up to Jesus and says, who's my neighbor? He's trying to get technical with it. In Joshua 7, verse 21, we find a man doing the actual coveting. It's the Achan. He says, when I saw among the spoil a goodly Babylonish garment and 200 shekels of silver and a wedge of gold of 50 shekels weight, then I coveted them and took them. And behold, they're hid in the earth in the midst of my tent, and the silver under it. So this is the problem with coveting. It doesn't stop with coveting. Coveting is one of those things that propels you into an action. So you got to stay away from it. It's different degrees. The devil is tricky. You'll be able to covet some things and not take a drastic action. It's obvious you're going to take some kind of an action, and it's going to displease God. And the worst case scenario, you do something very atrocious and God kills for it. Look at it in Psalm 10. Psalm 10, verse 3. The problem nowadays is we've got so many trinkets and so much junk in America that is flashy and shiny, and we're supposed to all look at it and lust after it. And then we're supposed to brag on the person who's got more toys. Whoever's got the most toy wins the game, I guess is the theory. The Bible says that's bad too. Psalm 10, verse 3. The wicked boasteth of his heart's desire, and blesses the covetous, whom the Lord abhorreth. That is, don't pat a covetous man on the back to bless him. The world says, work your plan your work and work your plan. Why? For something you're lusting after, your desires. Sometimes that plan is, I'm going to retire at 25 years old with $3 million in the bank. Whatever it is. But it's a covetous desire. And so then they're working their way to that. That's the goal. We're not our own. We're bought with a price. That's all out of our hand. We don't have the right to covet or to pat somebody on the back for doing it. Psalm 119. Psalm 119, verse 36. Incline mine heart unto thy testimonies, and not to covetousness. That's a good one. I love Psalms. Psalms is David revealing his heart and his mind to you. And he doesn't hold anything back. Here David is saying, I've got a tendency to head the wrong direction. I know which direction I should be heading. My heart seems to want to head incline toward covetousness. Keep me away from that. What I should be inclining to is what? Thy testimonies. So if you find yourself coveting, switch it to God's testimonies. That's the alternative. Look at what God has promised and what he's fulfilled. His testimony is him testifying of himself. I said this and I did that. And you've got a whole Old Testament full of it. New Testament as well. Jeremiah 6. Jeremiah 6, verse 13. He says, "For from the least of them, even unto the greatest of them, everyone is given to covetousness. And from the prophet even to the priest, everyone dealeth falsely." Covetousness causes you to take extremes. If you start giving into covetousness, what happens is you're tempted to falsify things in order to cut corners to get what you're after. So that's one thing we need to stay away from. 1 Corinthians 6. 1 Corinthians 6, verse 10. He says, "Nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor extortioners shall inherit kingdom of God." That is, these characteristics keep you from an inheritance in eternity, or in the millennium for sure. That is, there's something the devil's going to pull on man in order to hinder him because he can't make him lose his salvation. If he could do that, he'd sure be doing that. But if he can't do that one, he'll pull some other tricks to keep you from getting all the things you could get. And so we got to watch out for him. Look at Ephesians 5. Ephesians 5, verse 3. "But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness." You know what he just said? He said, "Fornication and uncleanness is covetousness. Let it not be once named among you as becometh saints." That is, it's not becoming of a saint. It doesn't fit you. It says, "Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks." Ooh, that's a tough one. You know, there's a bunch of hard commandments in the New Testament. There's a list of them right there. People say, "I'm not under the Old Testament." Well, you might want to be after you find all of them in the New Testament. Verse 5. "For this you know that no whoremonger, nor unclean person, nor covetous man, who's an idolater, hath any inheritance in the kingdom of Christ and of God." Basically the same thing we've read before. These are no-nos. Stay away from it. It'll keep you from some things you could have had in eternity and in the millennium. He said in our verse in Hebrews 13:5, he says, "And be content with such things as you have." That is, quit coveting, enjoy what you already got. You got enough junk right now. Matthew 6. Matthew 6, verse 25. He says, "Therefore I say unto you, take no thought for your life." Well, isn't that all we think about? You ain't spending much time thinking about somebody else's life. It's our life. He says, "Take no thought for your life, what ye shall eat or what ye shall drink." Well, there goes 90% of what we're thinking about. "Nor yet for your body, for what ye shall put on. Is not the life more than meat, and the body than raiment?" He's saying there's more important things than all the advertisements that the world wants to attract you with. We got it in Luke. Well, we'll go to Luke in a minute. Drop down to verse 34 and look what he says here. "Take therefore no thought for the morrow." You know, there's a lot of things that don't belong in your mind. Here's two of them right here. He said, "Take no thought for the morrow, for the morrow shall take thought for the things of itself. Sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof." Ooh, ain't that the truth? So we don't take thought for our life, and we don't take thought for tomorrow. None of your business. That's what he's saying. Philippians. No, I skipped one. Luke 3, verse 14. John the Baptist message. John the Baptist was a character. It's a typical Old Testament prophet that came in trying to make everybody mad. He's preaching to a whole bunch of Roman soldiers here, and he says, and the soldiers likewise demanded of him, saying, and what shall we do? And he said unto them, do violence to no man. What's your job? You're a soldier. Do violence to no man. Neither accuse any falsely, and be content with your wages. Wow. He knew exactly how to get them, didn't he? That's the top three things on every soldier's mind is, if you're a good soldier, you're just a violent person. He says, don't do violence to any man. Now, of course, the violence there he's talking about is individual, not as an army. That's obedience. The army going to warfare is what they're supposed to do. But he's talking about violence for violence sake. And then he says, don't covet. He says, to be content. You know what the normal thing is? I want a raise. What do I have to do to get more money? He says, pull over and park there a while. Enjoy what you got already. Until you learn to deal with what you already got, you don't need more to deal with. When the money increases, the bills do too. So just enjoy the bills you got already. You don't need more money because you got more bills coming in with that. He says in Philippians 4, verse 11. Philippians 4:11, Paul says, not that I speak in respect of one, for I have learned. Okay, so this is life has taught him something. For I have learned in whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content. Obviously, he's never been to Florida. Verse 12. I know both how to be abased and I know how to abound. That always scratched my head until I got a little life experience on that one. You need to learn both. Having a bunch of junk, you still have to learn how to live right with that and be content with a lot of junk, as you do with no junk. And God will give you both of those to learn from. He says, I've learned through experience, this is what I have to do. If I've got a lot or if I have little, I've got to learn to be content. He says, everywhere and in all things I am instructed, both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. Take it all as though it's direct from God. Did you get a lot of money this week? Good. God gave it to you. He's got a reason for it. Did he give you no money? Good. He takes pity on those that don't have. So maybe he wants to pour out some extra pity on you. He's justifying it. The Bible says he's just and the justifier of them that come to him. So he's going to justify his actions. Sometimes his actions are this: I put you in a hard place because I can see farther down the road the devil's going to come after you. And in order for me to justify giving you extra protection, I'm going to put you through something right now. And that will justify it. Look at it in 1 Timothy. 1 Timothy 6, verse 6. This is a double whammy right here. But godliness with contentment is great gain. Paul knew what he was saying when he said that. Because a lot of people would claim to be godly, and we would all think we were. But guess what? If you've got covetousness, you ain't. He says, if you're content and godly, that's worth a lot. Great gain. Verse 7. For we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we can carry nothing out. And having food and raiment, let us therewith be content. That is, do you have something you can wear? Not like what a woman says when she looks at a closet, loaded with clothes and says, I don't have anything to wear. Do you have something you can put on? Do you have something you can eat? He says, if you do, you can be content. Now, God will always see to it that you have something you can wear and something you can eat. I've never seen him fail that. I've been in some low spots before. I've had a time where I only had 35 cents that I could find in the car, and I had a plan for it. I planned that was going to be a cracker. I could get a peanut butter and cracker with that money. And I had it set aside. And then that was on a Wednesday night. And they passed the offering plate, and I looked down, and all of a sudden I saw Laura's hand go out, dropped money in the plate, and I said, where did she get money? He said, I found money in the car. I said, oh, yeah, I bet you did.
35 cents.
35 cents. But after the service, somebody walked up and gave me $50. That's the way God works. He says, having food and raiment, be content. Sometimes he'll make you think you're not going to have food just to see if you'll be content. He didn't say at what point you decide that you had enough food or enough raiment. It could be that he's saying, you don't need, back in this day and age, they only ate about once a day, if that. Now, maybe we eat too much. No doubt that's true. He said in our text in Hebrews 3:5, he says, they get to it. He says, let your conversation be without covetousness and be content with such things as you have. And then he goes on and tells them a thing that they have. I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. That's a thing you've got. That's a tough one. Luke chapter 1. This is the angel announcing to Mary that she's going to be the bearer of Christ. Luke 1:35. And the angel answered and said unto her, the Holy Ghost shall come upon thee, and the power of the highest shall overshadow thee. Therefore also that holy thing, called it a thing, that's Jesus, he's calling a thing, which shall be born of thee shall be called the Son of God. The Son of God is called a thing. Neuter. It could be masculine, it could be neuter, it could be feminine. I could give you cases for all those. I'm just going to give you one tonight. Genesis 3. Genesis 3, verse 15. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It, as in a thing, shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise. Now it switches. His heel. So neuter than masculine. So we can use, he's above all classifications that we can come up with. Look at Romans 8, verse 16. Romans 8:16. The Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit. We would not say that. We would say the Spirit himself. It says it, neuter, beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of God. Okay, so that's a thing you have. Something that's neither male nor female. It's a thing. An it. 1 John 5. John 5, verse 6. This is he that came by water and blood, even Jesus Christ, not by water only, but by water and blood. And it is the Spirit that bears witness, because the Spirit is truth. The thing you have, it, neither male nor female. Now we got a bunch of junk too. That's true. We got a bunch of those things. Those things you multiply and you end up having to get rid of because you got so many of them. He says, but as you have. That is, I've looked through space and time and I've seen that you've got a treasure chest of junk. He can see that we've all pulled up to Walmart and filled our trunk with junk. Look at it in Philippians 4. Philippians 4, verse 8. You don't really need all the things we got. He says, finally, brethren, whatsoever things are. And then he's going to give you a whole long list. So go through and cull out some of your things. You want to know what he means by things? There's a whole list of them. Whatsoever things are honest. So you know what the world's going to offer you? Some things that are not honest. Now, I think one of the things the world offers you, the devil offers you, is something to sidetrack you with dishonesty. You will know that it's dishonest. You know what it's going to be? It's going to be on the news media. You can't prove what they're saying is right or wrong, but it'll be coded just the way you like to believe, and you'll get sidetracked with it. You couldn't prove whether they were telling you the truth or not. They could have been lying to you. But it'll be just enough to get your day occupied with that. It's a thing. Kick it out. Whatsoever things are true, that is, you can prove it's true, biblical. You know what the problem with our TV set is this. It's given us the ability to look in and see and hear about stuff we could never experience in our life and we could never verify. It's requiring more faith than man has ever been required to have. Man's never had so much faith. Ask him about anything, including the weather, and they've got an opinion on it because they know it's for doctrine and truth because they saw it on the internet. Their faith is in something they've seen or heard, not something they went and verified. That's the age we're in. And that's a whole good list, but I'll get sidetracked if I start down that list. That's a whole nother sermon. Look at it in Nehemiah 9. Nehemiah 9, verse 15. He's recounting the children of Israel coming out of Egypt. He says, thou givest them bread from heaven, that's manna, for their hunger, and brought forth water for them out of the rock for their thirst, and promisest them that they should go in and possess the land which thou hadst sworn to give them. Those are all things that God did. Those are his testimonies. And furthermore, he says, I'm doing this for you in a supernatural, miraculous way, and I'm promising you something you hadn't seen yet. That's what God does with us. He saves us, and he takes care of us on this planet. And you know why he does that? Part of the reason why he does that is so that we have hope and belief in the rest of what he says. One day I'm getting you out of that mess. Now I can believe that. I have no excuse to not believe that when he's already done so much. Why would he suddenly lie about that one? Okay, we can have faith and trust in him, just like the children of Israel. Look at it in Psalm 84. Psalm 84, verse 11. Here's why your things may be limited. Only have a handful of them. For the Lord God is a sun and shield. The Lord will give grace and glory. No good thing will he withhold from them that walk uprightly. Some of that junk God didn't give me. I went out and got because it didn't turn out to be that great of junk. He says, but no good thing is he going to withhold. If it's good, he'll make sure you have it. Now, our idea of good might be a little askew from God's. And that's a fact. He teaches us that through time. Look at it in 2 Corinthians 9. 2 Corinthians 9, verse 8. He says, and God is able to make all grace abound toward you, that ye always having all sufficiency in all things may abound to every good work. That is God saying, I will see to it you are fully stocked up, supplied, sufficient with everything you need to do a good work I have planned for you. And if we're not careful, you know what we'll do? We'll start coveting the good work we saw somebody else doing. Well, if I was a billionaire like Trump, I would do this, and that's not what sufficiency God has given you. He gave that to somebody else. You let them worry about that. What sufficiency has He given you? Is it just the ability to talk to somebody? Is it the ability to understand the situation somebody's going through? Then that's all required of you. He doesn't need to come up with money for that one. He says, verse 9, as it is written, He hath dispersed abroad, He hath given to the poor, His righteousness remaineth forever. Now he that ministereth the seed to the sower, both minister bread for you, for your food, and multiply your seed sown, and increase the fruits of your righteousness. He says, you've got food. Some of y'all are farmers, and you're growing your food. He said, it's God who growed the food, growed it. It's a good southern word. He growed it. That's where you see God. Because there's your little chemical concoctions that you come up with, that don't guarantee nothing. A new worm that they've never seen before will show up and take over the crop. They got to come up with a new chemical for that. No wonder everybody's got cancer. It's God who's responsible for giving you the harvest or not. Verse 11, being enriched in everything to all bountifulness, which causeth through us thanksgiving to God. That is, everything you got, you ought to be thankful for. Everything you don't have, you ought to be thankful. There's no excuse for a Christian to not be thankful, because He's promised you will have sufficiency for every good work. If you don't have something, what you would have done if you had it would not be a good work. We can't imagine what we would do if we were a billionaire. We don't know. God's not giving it to you. What He has given you, He expects you to do what He intends with. It's easy for us to claim something we've not had experience with. It's easy for me. I like to spend somebody else's money. That's easy to do, you know. You go to the car salesman for a little while. And that's fun, because you're spending somebody else's money. Oh, do you want this pretty thing we can add to it, or this pretty thing we can add to it? You can just sign them right up, and that's actually enjoyable. But you got to be careful with that, because pretty soon that thing kicks in and you say, how come I don't have that? I couldn't get that. Drop it. Let's move on. He says, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. Now that's the reason you can be content. It's because of all the things you could have, here's the one thing that should outshine all of them. I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. That one you do have. If you have that, there's no need to covet anything else. If He can walk in the grave and walk back out 3 days later after making a worldwide trip, and extraterrestrial, then we can count on having Him as all we need. Look at Genesis 28. Genesis 28, verse 15. This is taking a lot longer than I thought it would. Yeah, we didn't even finish one verse yet. Genesis 28, 15. And behold, I am with thee, and will keep thee in all places whither thou goest, and will bring thee again unto this land, for I will not leave thee until I have done that which I have spoken to thee of. You can get excited reading that and applying it to yourself. God is going to stay with you until He's finished doing what He promised to you He's going to do. What's His promise to you? One day we'll ever be with the Lord. Okay, that's a promise. He ain't going to leave until he's done that. And then there's no need to leave because you're going to be right there with him. Look at it in Deuteronomy 31. Deuteronomy 31, verse 6. Be strong and of good courage. Fear not, nor be afraid of them. For the Lord thy God, he it is that doth go with thee. He will not fail thee, nor forsake thee. Whew, that's a good one. Sometimes you have to remind yourself of that. Look at it in verse 8. And the Lord, he it is that doth go before thee. He will be with thee. He will not fail thee, neither forsake thee. Fear not, neither be dismayed. That was such a lesson he was learning that he had to repeat it. He said almost the same thing twice, one verse away from each other. So it's important. We got 2 ears. We need to fill them up. 1 Samuel 12. 1 Samuel 12, verse 22. 1 Samuel 12, 22. For the Lord will not forsake his people for his great name's sake. That's a good one. You've got to master that one. You don't earn God abiding with you. Nothing you've done has earned that. We've messed up so many times he shouldn't, but he does. And here's why. Because he's got a great name. Not because you got a great name. If you earned it, you would have the great name. He's the one with the great name. And because of that, he's going to dwell with you. He says, for the Lord will not forsake his people for his great name's sake, because it has pleased the Lord to make you his people. I don't know that I can understand all that, but that's there. Isaiah 41. Isaiah 41, verse 10. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee, yea, I will help thee. Yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. Whew, that's a good verse right there. You know what he said? He said, you're going to need all of that. You're going to be tempted to be dismayed. Otherwise, he wouldn't have put it in the verse. He says, I'll strengthen you. You know why he says that? Because you're going to be weak at some point, and you're going to need him to strengthen you. You need to have the opposite of all of those qualities for him to fulfill that verse. So at some point, you're going to experience every one of those, and he'll get to step in and provide everything he just said he would do. Look at it in verse 17. When the poor and needy seek water, and there is none, and their tongue faileth for thirst, I, the Lord, will hear them. I, the God of Israel, will not forsake them. Now, he's proved that in the Old Testament prior to this. Prior to Isaiah was Moses. So, coming out of the wilderness, he provided water. He's going to have to do it again. Remember, in the tribulation, it's not going to rain because probably Elijah is going to shut the faucet off. It's not going to rain for 3.5 years. And then all of a sudden, it's going to come a deluge. In Revelation 12, it's going to open up, and the attempt will be a supernatural, probably a weather experiment of the devil in order to flood out Israel. And God says, well, the ground's so parched, it's just going to open up its mouth and swallow it in. But that's God. God provides for his people. We only made it through one verse. I'm going to skip down and just give you one little homework assignment, and then we'll pick it up one day. Hebrews 13, verse 7. He says, remember them which have the rule over you, who have spoken unto you the word of God, whose faith follow, considering the end of their conversation. So the question is, them that have the rule over you, what in the world is he talking about? Of all the people on the earth, I am probably the least pastoral authority you'll ever find. However, I'm not shutting it all the way off. He says right here, somebody's got authority, a rule over you. What does it mean? When we get here next time, I'll try to prep it up for you. But somebody asked John MacArthur this question. What authority does a pastor have and rule does he have? And he says zero. No, no authority and no rule. I said, well, that means he's not read his Bible. Or didn't believe it when he read it. He was too busy changing it. He came up with his own interpretation of the Bible. He uses an NIV for his MacArthur Bible, and because he says it's the most widely accepted worldwide. And then he used his own notes, which is whatever. But he's so busy doing that, he couldn't find all the verses that say the opposite. And so I'll play that for you maybe next time, and we can make it to 2 verses next time, then we'll get to that. All right, that'll do it tonight.